One of the scariest things anyone can experience in life is seeing their life flash before their very eyes and knowing death is only a few seconds away. This was the reality of Daniel, a young Nigerian man who was, until the 15th of September 2012, very vibrant and optimistic about his future. Daniel worked as a sales boy in his older brother's electronics shops in Wuse Market, a very popular market in the city of Abuja, Nigeria's capital. At the shop, they sold all kinds of electronics like televisions, refrigerators, blenders, and others. Most of the time, his brother left the shop in his care because he was very smart, honest, and attracted a lot of customers. They opened Mondays to Saturdays at 8 a.m. and closed the shop at 6 p.m. every day. Saturday, the 15th of September 2012, started like every other day. Daniel and his brother opened up the shop at the usual time. That day, they didn't record much sales. Business was very slow. At about 5:30 p.m., just 30 minutes to their closing time, a Muslim woman dressed in a long flowing gown and hijab walked into the shop. She said she needed to buy few electronics. Daniel was happy that at last they wouldn't be going home empty-handed. The woman shopped real quick, no hassle, just the kind of customer every business person prays for. In just about 20 minutes, she was done shopping. Daniel packaged her goods and she paid in cash the sum of 120,000 naira. She left afterwards. It was getting late and banks had closed for the day. So Daniel had to take the 120,000 naira home with him with the intention of taking it to the bank the following day to deposit it into his brother's account. He put the money in his pocket and closed for the day. He met up with his friend Paul and they both headed to the bus stop where they would board a taxi home. Daniel and Paul soon got to the bus stop. They waited a while before they found a taxi going their way. Inside the taxi, there were two passengers already seated. Daniel and Paul joined in. They needed two more passengers to fill up the car, so they waited a little while. While they waited for more passengers, the man who was seated at the back with Daniel and Paul suddenly tugged at Daniel's pocket and tried to take the 120,000 naira cash Daniel had earlier on put in his pocket. Daniel noticed the thief. His friend, just as surprised as Daniel was, also tried to stop the thief. But before they could even fully understand what was happening, the thief unexpectedly jumped out of the car and began to shout, "Thief! Thief! This guy has stolen my money! Help me!" His screams immediately attracted passerbys, drivers, and passengers at that very busy bus stop. They immediately ran towards the man, asking who the thief was. The man pointed to Daniel, who was still very confused at the unexpected turn of events. "He is the thief. He stole my money while I was sitting in the taxi. I think he put the money in his pocket." The small crowd that had gathered immediately pounced on Daniel. They didn't even wait to let him speak or defend himself. They dragged him left, right, front, and back, and landed him slaps and blows from every corner. While they were hitting Daniel, the thief slipped his hand into Daniel's pocket, took the 120,000 naira, and immediately left the scene with the driver and the other passengers in the car. They were all working together. The angry mob didn't even give Daniel the chance to speak. This was happening at a time when Abuja was under siege by pickpockets and highway robbers. So they thought to use Daniel as a scapegoat. When Paul tried to defend his friend, They immediately assumed Paul was his accomplice and they began beating him too. They hit the two friends with sticks, stones, iron, and everything they could lay their hands on. The boys were bleeding all over. Soon, Paul became unconscious due to the severity of the wounds they inflicted on him. They kept hitting Daniel despite his pleas of being innocent. Daniel began to feel faint. He could feel life leaving him. In his state of subconsciousness, he heard someone from the crowd say, "Someone should get tire and petrol. Let us teach these guys a lesson they would never forget in their next life." It was at this point Daniel knew that if he didn't do something, he would become a sack of roasted meat in just a few minutes. And so, with every strength he could muster, and with blood and sweat dripping all over his body, he rose up and pushed his way through the great crowd, falling everything and everyone in his way. He wasn't going to go down without a fight. And with tears-filled eyes, he kept running to nowhere in particular. The crowd immediately began to run after him. Many threw rocks and other heavy objects at him in order to weaken him or make him fall. But at that moment, Daniel felt invincible, like he was indestructible. He kept running while the crowd kept pursuing relentlessly. Meanwhile, Daniel's older brother came to the park also to board a taxi. When he noticed the commotion and the crowd, he drew closer and discovered it was his younger brother being beaten to a pulp. He immediately left the scene and ran to the police station to report the matter. The police soon arrived at the bus stop, but the crowd had now moved. They were running after Daniel, leaving Paul, who had been badly beaten and unconscious. The police picked up Paul and drove towards the direction Daniel had run in order to pick him up too. Now, Daniel kept running till he saw a large compound that had a gate. He immediately ran to the gate, pushed it open, and the gate gave way. He ran in and locked the gate behind him. Then he collapsed on the ground from exhaustion and blood loss. The crowd soon got to the gate and began banging on it, ordering anyone who was inside to bring out the thief or they would tear down the gate themselves. But the occupants of the building took pity on Daniel and refused to release him to the hungry lions. The crowd was just about to pounce on the gate when they heard the sirens of the police vehicle wailing. Immediately, like magic, the crowd dispersed. They all ran away because none of them wanted to be charged for attempted murder. The police rescued and took Daniel and Paul to the hospital, where they both spent days recuperating. Daniel has never forgotten about this near-death experience and still tells the story to everyone who cares to listen. Jungle justice is not and has never been the way to get justice. Many innocent people have lost their lives to these barbaric acts. We must say no to jungle justice. My name is IJ of Auntie IJ's Tales, and if you can still hear my voice, it means you watched this video to the end. You are the real VVIP. Thank you so much for your support. If you're a first-time viewer, don't go yet. Please hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you get notified whenever I upload a new video. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. You are the reason I am still here. Keep staying with me and see you in my next video. Bye-bye.